Good Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I am Jana Shortle. Happening right now, Minnesotans across our state casting their ballots as it's election day. This afternoon, we have a lot of important races to track. In the Minneapolis mayoral election, Mayor Jacob Fry is seeking a third term. Omar Fateh, a state senator, is a challenger. Other candidates, longtime minister Reverend Duane Davis, attorney Jazz Hampton, and Brenda Short. And in neighboring St. Paul, Melvin Carter is trying to keep his seat as that city's mayor. Challenging him at the polls today, Kuala Her, Yan Chen, Mike Hilborn, and Adam Dollinger. The winner of that race will only serve a 3-year term, though, because the city of St. Paul is switching to even-year elections. Michelle Bach tells us more about some of the other big races you'll want to know about.
This will affect you if you live in most of Wright County or parts of Hennepin and Meeker counties. You're getting a new state senator. Same goes for those of you in Woodbury and the southern part of Maplewood. That's also known as Senate District 47. The winner of today's special election will fill the seat held by former DFL State Senator Nicole Mitchell, who resigned after being convicted of burglary. The race is between GOP candidate Dwight Dorough and DFL candidate Amanda Hemmingson Yeager. Meanwhile, a special election in Senate District 29 will fill the seat left by Republican Senator Bruce Anderson, who died in July. At stake with both races is the balance of power in the Senate. School referendums are also a big deal at the polls today. In St. Paul, for example, voters will decide whether to hike property taxes to provide more than $37 million to its public schools. Minnetonka and Hopkins will have referendum questions as well.
Thanks, Michelle. Polls are open until 8 tonight. If you're going to the polls this afternoon, a few reminders before you head out. You can register same day in our state, but make sure you have a valid ID like your driver's license with you. If you're unsure of where you're supposed to be voting, head to the Secretary of State's website and just look up your address. It'll tell you where to go. It's important to note that Minnesota has a law against wearing any kind of political clothing, campaign buttons, or having a sign with you near a polling location. So leave all of that stuff at your house. And as you're waiting in line, make sure you're careful about what you're doing with your phone. There's no law saying you can't take pictures or video inside a polling place, but the Secretary of State discourages that because it can take up time and it could compromise the privacy of other people voting. However, there's a law against showing a marked ballot to others. That could mean a direct picture or a selfie. So today, both of the mayor's races, as we said, in Minneapolis and St. Paul, they're going to be using ranked choice voting. RCV is something that's been around here for a while, but it's still confusing. Here's how it works.
Ranked choice voting is a method where voters rank several candidates for a single office. Voters in Minneapolis can rank up to 3 candidates, and in St. Paul, it can be up to 6. If a candidate gets 50% or more of the vote, they win. If no candidate reaches that threshold, the candidate with the fewest number of votes is eliminated, and voters who ranked the eliminated candidate as their first choice have their votes reassigned to their next highest ranked candidate. That process continues until someone gets that majority. You can vote for only one person, but the more candidates you rank, the more power your ballot has.
Pictures make it better. Thanks, Julie. Well, as we go to vote today, more high-stakes races are taking place across the country. In New York City, I'm sure you've heard about that one, the spotlight on the mayor's race. 34-year-old Democratic Socialist nominee Zohran Mamdani is facing Andrew Cuomo. He's the former governor of that state as a Democrat, but he's now running as an independent. In Virginia and New Jersey, voters are choosing new governors, and the results, some are saying, will serve as an early measure of voter sentiment on the performances of the two parties, the Republican and Democrats. In California, voters are going to decide whether to give the Democrats power to redraw their state's congressional map. What happens today, again, an early sign of things to come, perhaps, for the midterms next year. Well, right now, flags at the White House are flying at half-staff, one day after the death of former Vice President Dick Cheney. This afternoon, the nation is remembering Cheney's life, serving alongside President George W. Bush for 2 terms. His family confirmed Cheney died from complications of pneumonia as well as cardiac and vascular disease. NBC's Alice Barr reports from Washington.
Hi there. The death of Dick Cheney, one of the most influential vice presidents in modern history, is touching off condolences and reflections on a complicated legacy. He's being remembered as an architect of the global war on terrorism and the Second Iraq War, while serving as vice president to President George W. Bush, who today called him among the finest public servants of his generation. Cheney was also defense secretary under the senior President Bush and a U.S. representative from Wyoming before that. He was highly influential during the Bush-Cheney administration, often referred to as a co-president, and steered the post-9/11 push to invade Iraq and depose Saddam Hussein. Though famously no weapons of mass destruction were ever found and there were years of fallout in an Iraqi civil war, Cheney never publicly wavered from his decision-making, nor his hard line on enhanced interrogations of al-Qaeda terrorists, widely considered torture. He called them legal, essential, and justified. Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney, climbed the Republican leadership ranks in the U.S. House before running crosswise of President Trump when she became his vocal critic following the January 6 Capitol attack. Dick Cheney, a towering conservative figure, said he voted for Kamala Harris in the last elections against Donald Trump and in solidarity with his daughter. After decades of heart problems, Cheney's family said he died Monday night of complications from pneumonia and cardiovascular disease. He was 84. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Staying in Washington, we are entering day 35 of our government shutdown. This is now tied for the longest in American history. We are also learning more about how the White House is supposed to be funding those SNAP benefits. The Trump administration had said it will use contingency funds to partially pay for the benefits this month. That comes after a federal judge ordered them to pay out the benefits. But the money's only going to cover about half. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent argues full benefits can be restored if the Democrats vote to pass the Republican funding bill. But Democrats say Republicans are intentionally withholding food benefits.
Democrats are in the middle of a civil war, and they should just open the government.
All Republicans care about is the opinion of one man, the puppet master of the Republican Party, Donald J. Trump. They don't care about anything else. How else can you explain the fact that they are weaponizing hunger?
The Trump administration says it needs at least $4 billion and more money, in its opinion, to provide full SNAP benefits. And the impact of a SNAP cut that also trickles down to people who have pets. One woman in North St. Paul, however, is doing what she does. She's stepping up and turning her little free library into a community care shelf for pet food.
Nobody should have to choose between feeding themselves or feeding their pets. So if I can help in a little way, I want to do that.
A Minneapolis animal shelter, The Bond Between, says it's also seeing a lot more people in need of pet food supplies and other services. The shelter's director says they used to see about 100 new households a month, and now they're doubled at that, getting 200 a month. Also this month, Twin Cities Pet Evolution stores are collecting pet food, toys, supplies to benefit those local food pantries. Customers who donate will get 10% off their purchase that same day. And if you'd like to help, there's a lot of organizations and information out there doing something. You'll find it at our website, KARE11.com. New details this afternoon about a deadly shooting at a birthday party in North Minneapolis that left a teenager dead and another young person in custody. This all happened about 11 o'clock Sunday night. The house is at the intersection of Russell Avenue North and North 29th Avenue. That's the Jordan neighborhood on the north side. Police say a group of teenagers was having a birthday party in the basement when the boy was shot and he died. Police said they initially thought the boy shot himself, but they later learned someone else shot him.
Our thoughts are with the family of this young person tonight. As a father myself, I cannot imagine what it would be like to go through a crime of violence to your child like this.
Nobody else was hurt in that shooting, and police say they're trying to piece together the events that led up to it. Well, right now, Minneapolis police are also increasing patrols near the St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church after a second attempted robbery happened there in just 2 weeks' time. About 6:20 p.m. Saturday night, Minneapolis police say 3 people ambushed a man and a woman outside that church. The suspects then got away before police arrived. Just 2 weeks prior to that, on October 19th, 2 men leaving the church were attacked by a group of men who jumped out of 2 cars. There have been no arrests in either of these cases right now. Also today, a rescue team digging through ice and snow on a mountain in Nepal in search for the bodies of 7 climbers who were killed by an avalanche. 8 others who were on the climb got injured, but they were flown to the capital of Nepal for treatment. NBC's Janice McKay reports from Beijing.
The avalanche in Nepal struck a camp Monday, leaving at least 5 climbers and 2 Nepali guides dead. The police chief in the area telling NBC News that a group of climbers had reached the base camp of Yalungri Peak at about 16,000 feet. The summit's at 21,000 feet. Weather is believed to have triggered the avalanche after a cyclone pushed through the region last week, bringing heavy snowfall. The weather then cleared and there was sunshine, and those temperature fluctuations are considered a warning sign that the snow load on a mountain can turn deadly. At least 7 other people in the group were rescued. They were airlifted to Kathmandu. The search for missing climbers has been hard because poor weather made it nearly impossible for helicopters to land. Rescue workers are now digging through the snow and ice to try to recover the bodies, but they say they could be 15 or 20 feet under the snow. A French climber who was rescued told NBC News that she survived because she was to the left of the avalanche and that she feels lucky to be alive, but she lost her husband on the mountain. This has been a dangerous season for climbers and trekkers in the Himalayas because of extreme weather incidents. At least 3 bodies have been recovered from this avalanche zone, but it isn't clear when they'll be able to bring them down from the mountain. Janice Mackey-Ferry, NBC News, Beijing.
Stick with us. More news weather coming up after the break.